This Compass presentation, The Deep State, Past, Present, and Prophesied by Brandon Holthaus was recorded live at a Stealing the Mind Bible Conference. To view more Stealing titles, get information on our Holy Land trips and future Bible conferences, go to compass.org.
Welcome to Stealing the Mind Bible Conference. Unfortunately, I can't be with you, but I can be with you in spirit and in video. And all of you guys out there in Idaho, I want to thank you for having me. I want to thank you guys, Compass International, for hosting this event. And I'm sure you guys are going to have a blessed day. What we want to talk about today is the deep state and the biblical implications of this, because the Bible does predict that there will be a deep state in the future, and the deep state's going to be by the Antichrist himself, but the groundwork is already starting to happen. And we are witnesses of this deep state, even right now in our country. We have seen it with Donald Trump, with what they've tried to do to him. We have seen it in all of our institutions of what they tried to do. And I want to give you a flavor and a picture of what's happening in our world right now with this deep state, where it goes from here, what it's doing, and so that we have our minds sharpened to know not to be deceived and to see what it's trying to do and what it's trying to accomplish, because the Bible gives the endpoints about where it's going. And so we need to be paying attention to this so that we don't get caught off guard, we don't get hit out of left field, and we don't become deceived. And what you have to understand then is there's a multiplicity of deep states vying for power all over the world. There's a deep state in Russia. There's a deep state in China. There's a deep state in America. There's a deep state in Europe. There are all these different deep states that are vying for power. And so eventually what ends up happening, it coalesces and there becomes winners in all of this. And it's kind of a race, if you want to think about it. And so these global elites that are positioned all over the world, what they are doing is creating a system of global government. That's what they're wanting. And what inevitably comes from that is them destroying the West and trying to destroy America. And as you guys watched, that's exactly what Joe Biden was doing the whole time that he was in his presidency. That's what Barack Obama was doing the whole time in his presidency. And they were hoping that Hillary Clinton would have got in the first time Trump won, and she would have continued Barack's globalism. And now we got a problem now for them, because Trump now is in there. And the American people voted we don't want to go to globalism. We don't want to go over the cliff. And so a lot of things are happening. Anyway, we'll talk about that. But when we talk about global elites, when we talk about the shadow government or Leviathan, whatever you want to call it, these global elites are pushing towards globalism. And some of the names you might be familiar with are the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum. The United Nations obviously has been pushing globalism since its very inception. Club of Rome. A lot of these groups are involved in globalism. I mean, if you remember, Joe Biden said his own boss was the Council of Foreign Relations, if you remember that. And so that brings an alarming thing to us, that a U.S. president would say that his boss is the Council of Foreign Relations. So anyway, what has happened then, as we have all seen, is this deep state, this Leviathan, has seeped into some of our departments. And now, thank God that Trump's in there. He's trying to clean this up, but it's hit the Department of Defense. It hit Department of Justice. It hit the Department of State. It hit the FBI, the White House, Central Intelligence Agency. And we have seen over the last 4 years how bad and corrupt these agencies have become. And pushing narratives, censoring, working with tech companies to censor, free speech and whatnot. And look, there's been confessions. Mark Zuckerberg confessed that he was working with the government, doing what the government told him to do to censor things on Facebook. So we do know that these things are active. And right now, Trump is trying to clean this up. He's trying to clean up the Department of Defense, the Central Intelligence Agency, the FBI. And we're all praying and hoping that he can. But please understand, These people are not willing to give up their power that easy. They are not willing to relinquish the control that they had. And so there's going to be some pushback. And that's why we all need to be praying for President Trump and his guys like Kash Patel and everyone else that are trying to unearth this and get this out of our government. Because look, this is serious business, what they're trying to accomplish. They're trying to diminish the United States and America to go to a global government. And so here's the problem that all of the West is having, whether I travel to Europe, whether I travel to Australia, New Zealand, I see it everywhere. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in all Western countries, and they're all having the same problem. There's no independent leadership anymore, but now, thank God, we got Trump in there as an independent leader, but most of the Western states don't have independent leaders. The West has been passing the same laws in concert with the international order. So that, for instance, like open immigration, illegal immigration into our country, and all of the Western states have been like this. Mass immigration. Why? Because trying to change the population demographics to vote more, liberal, vote more leftist, vote more democratic. And we already know that illegal aliens will vote whoever gives them the money. And this has been studied. Harvard did a study on illegal immigration, and 80% of illegal immigrants will vote Democratic. And then that's the same thing in Europe as well, and that's happening too. They have been weaponizing the government against its own citizens. We've seen that during the Biden administration. We had FBI agents come and arrest people that were praying against abortion mills like Planned Parenthood, and they were arrested and put in jail, and thank God Trump pardoned some of them, but that's what we call the weaponization of government. That's happening in Europe right now as people who post things on their social media are now being arrested. If they come against the LGBT, if they come against the trans movement, they come against Islam or immigration, they're put in jail. They're arrested and fined. And so this is the weaponization we see all through the West. Obviously a crackdown on free speech. And that's really what the Biden administration in America was doing in concert with the media, social media groups. And thank God, Elon Musk kind of tried to break out of that and bought Twitter and turned it into X. And that became really the only freedom of speech platform that we had, because YouTube was ruined and has been ruined. Facebook, same thing, censoring. All those social media things were problematic as far as free speech is concerned. And then you have these forced mergers between governments and private companies. We call it a public-private partnership. And what they've been doing is trying to do an end around people who would vote for the government, and then the government, passes the laws and does what they need to do. But when the government couldn't get things done, what they figured is, well, we'll go around the people that vote for us, and we'll have private companies push the issue rather than having things legislated. And so like DEI and ESG, all those things that Trump is trying to eliminate, those were end arounds. And so what they knew Americans wouldn't vote for something like that. So they would have companies push it, like Target or Home Depot or Walmart or BlackRock pushing its issues, of DEI, ESG. And now I hear, Larry Fink's now changed his mind about pushing ESG and DEI. But nonetheless, that's what we see in Scripture. The Scripture talks about a public-private partnership in Revelation 18 as the kings of the earth and the merchants of the earth get together to push the Babylonian system. And so this is all predicted. So these public-private partnerships are not going away. This is what we call in political science fascism, where you have this public-private partnership, and they're doing things that are illegal that no one voted for, but yet because it's a private company, they can get away with it. And so that's what we see all through the West. And then, of course, now that we have Trump in there, we have Trump derangement syndrome that's went off the chart because Trump throws a monkey wrench into their plans. and they don't know what to do with him. I mean, well, they tried to assassinate him, as you guys know, but he is really throwing a monkey wrench into the globalist plans. And really what's happening is this is a war between globalism and nationalism. That's what it is. That's what Trump represents. He represents nationalism. And of course, they call him Hitler, and they call and the MAGA supporters, that anyone that voted for him, they're Hitlerites, they're racist, anti-trans, anti-LGBT, everything, right? Anti-Islamic. But that's what they have to do to demonize nationalism, because they're trying to promote globalism. So Trump gets in the way of that. Don't make any mistake. Europe is going global. Canada is going global. Australia, New Zealand, their governments are pushing globalism. But America is the last bastion that's holding out on this. And the globalists know they have to take down America from its position, its stature in the world, and take it down in order to usher in globalism. So please understand, this is all predicted. So the interesting thing that Daniel predicts, this is Daniel chapter 2, and if you have ever read Daniel, he talks about a vision that he saw of 4 empires and codified in a statue. And this statue is what we call Daniel's metallic man, but the top of the head represented Babylon, and the middle represented Medo-Persia. The torso represented Greece, and the legs of iron represented Rome. Now, here's what you have to understand. The leg part of Rome has 5 phases, according to Scripture. And I'm not going to show you that because I don't have the time. But according to Daniel chapter 2, chapter 7, and Revelation 13, and Revelation 17, there are 5 phases to the Roman Empire. And it means that in these 5 phases, Rome is still with us. Rome will be with us all the way to the second coming. So you had the 5 phases, and let me explain those phases. The first phase was the united phase of Rome, and that was the Roman Empire in Jesus' day. And then, as you know, in history, it split up and broke into 2. And you had the Constantinople being the eastern power, and then you had Rome being the western power. And so there's where the 2 legs of Daniel's metallic man come from. Now, the third phase that comes, future, is a global Rome. And so we are in the 2-legged phase of Daniel's metallic man. And eventually, we go to a global system. Well, when we go to that global system, what ends up happening is this global system becomes a global government, and then it breaks into 10 global regions of the world that are by 10 kings. And that's codified in the toes of the feet of Daniel's metallic man. And these toes are partly strong and partly weak. So if we read this, this is what Daniel says. He says, whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Yet the strength of its iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, and they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Now, that seems very cryptic, but when we look at political science and we understand the next phase for the Roman Empire and what it will do, it starts making sense when we pick this apart. So what's happening to us is biblical. It's prophecy. And again, what do the globalists want to do? They want to control the natural resources of the planet. Basically, if you control energy and these natural resources like water or anything like that, gas, fossil fuels, all those things, agriculture, you basically can control the entire world. That's what these people have figured out. That's why they're pushing climate change. That's why they're pushing global warming. That's why they're pushing going green. That's why they're eliminating fossil fuels, is they want to control the natural resources. And what will that do by them controlling it? It will skyrocket the prices of energy. It will cause us problems of being able to not do transportation. It will cause us that we can have no mobility. And basically, you chokehold the entire country. That's what Kamala and Joe Biden were doing. That's what the globalists want. But as you can see, Trump gets in there and it's drill, baby, drill. We're going to open this thing up. We're going to get fossil fuels back in line. We're going to be energy independent. And that flies in the face of the globalists. I think what we have seen, what God has allowed, is a revealing. Trump being used by God, and I'm not saying he's the Messiah, I'm not saying he's the Savior, but he definitely has been used by God to reveal Leviathan. Not just in his first term, but in the second one now is being revealed. Leviathan is all through our government. All what Doge is revealing is showing you the waste and the fraud of trillions of dollars going into NGOs all for stupid things and taking taxpayer money. So Leviathan is real. It has been revealed. And again, these articles continue to prove they try to do Russia. Trump and Putin are working together, and that was a lie. They were the intelligence agencies like the CIA were blocking intelligence to Donald Trump the first term. Well, things are different now, and they were willing to lie. Trump revealed highly classified information they said to a Russian foreign minister or ambassador. That's all a lie. They were just willing to just make up stuff. And so Leviathan, you have to understand, works with deception. It has to deceive. It has to cover up what it's doing. And that's why they lied so much about Trump, and they lie continually right now. Call them all kinds of names or whatever. But what we found out, though, is there was things that happened, like Crossfire Hurricane. They went in overdrive, resulted in the DOJ and the FBI investigation called Crossfire Hurricane. This is all made up, but this was to stop what Trump was doing. And then after a 4-year probe, the Durham report slams the FBI for actions in the 2016 Russian investigation. They said our investigation revealed the senior FBI personnel displayed a serious lack of analytical rigor towards the information that they received, especially information received from politically affiliated persons and entities. In particular, there was significant reliance on investigative leads provided by or funded, directly or indirectly, by Trump's political opponents. The department did not adequately examine or question these materials and motivations of those providing them before opening a full-scale investigation. So it was all a hoax. It was all democratically led to bring down Trump. Ex-FBI lawyer spared prison for altering Trump-Russia probe email. So Kevin Kleinsmith admitted that in June of 2017 that he sent an altered email to an FBI agent about Carter Page, which is a former Trump campaign advisor. So they admitted lying. So if you don't think the deep state's there, how do you ignore this? Here's another thing from government info. FBI whistleblowers, what their disclosures indicate about the politicization of the FBI and Justice Department. So it was politicized. We know that now. And then when Robert Mueller did his investigation on the Russian probe, it cost nearly $32 million to do that, and it was all a hoax. So there was a bunch of fraud, a bunch of waste. And why? To get at Trump. And then you guys obviously know what they tried to do. They tried to assassinate him twice. And don't think this was an accident. And I hope that Trump goes back in there and investigates what happened with the Secret Service, because when you and I look at what happened with the Secret Service on those two occasions, it was a serious dereliction of duty. And I would think more of our Secret Service, that they would do a better job, but they did a terrible job. And I don't think that was an accident, that this kid climbed up on a roof and was able to take a pot shot at Trump. How did that happen? I mean, everything about that day went wrong, as you guys know. This kid flew a drone. There was no communication between the police and the sheriffs and the Secret Service, and one didn't know what the other one was doing. And this kid was able to climb on a roof and take a shot at Trump and nearly got him, right? And then we saw after that this weekend coup that happened, which again revealed the deep state, where the globalist elite cabal, whatever, said, look, Joe can't run. We got to get him out of there. And so within 48 hours, they replaced Joe Biden with Kamala. And they bypassed the electorate of 14 million delegates and basically committed a coup against Biden. Not that I'm a fan of Biden, but that's a sign of the deep state. That's proof. And then again, the second assassination attempt at the golf course, and again, dereliction of duty for the Secret Service. How come they didn't sweep the perimeter and know that the sixth hole has a vulnerability there by that on that golf course that you can see right into the putting green and take a shot? So this guy, they said, planted himself there. This Ruthie guy planted himself there at 2 a.m. in the morning in anticipation for Trump playing that golf course. Well, the funny thing about this is the Secret Service says that Trump said he decided to play golf at the last minute. And so this was a last minute plan that they took, and he decided to play golf. That can't be true. That cannot be true, because Ruthie planted himself at 2 a.m. in the morning, 12 hours before. So Ruthie knew Trump would play golf. This wasn't a last minute deal. This was planned. And he nearly got him, right? And thank God that they caught him. But nonetheless, how could the Secret Service be that inept, be that bad at protecting a former president? Well, I think you already know. This was a setup. Anyway, in the end, like Trump said, he says, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in the way. And I think that's how we have to see this is, they're taking their shot at Trump, but Trump represents a lot of us who voted for that because he represents us. And they nearly took him out. And I don't think for a moment that they won't do it again. And so you have to see this. This is a globalistic push against nationalism to destroy America, to destroy our way of life, to destroy the Judeo-Christian ethics and morality, and to bring in globalism with their ethics and morality that are, opposite of what God says. So you see Trump going through 2 impeachments. They raided his private home 91 days before an election, 88 official charges, 4 criminal indictments, 2 assassination attempts. A 3rd assassin was caught, and they all struck out. Okay? He made it. He got in. Okay? And there's an old saying by Ralph Waldo Emerson that says, when you strike at a king, you must kill him. And so they know they missed. And they're watching now that Trump is back in office and what he is doing. And he is at a lightning quick pace. I don't even think the guy sleeps. And he is exposing things. He's exposing the FBI. He's exposing the CIA. He's going to release information about, Jeffrey Epstein. He's going to release the JFK files. He's supposed to release all these things that are going to expose the deep state. And then, of course, he's cracking down. And with DOGE, they're firing people left and right that are just government bureaucracies. And no need for them. And I'm glad. But at the same time, don't think they're going to go away quietly. So what should we expect? Well, again, the deep state's not going anywhere. They exist. They exist in Europe. They exist in Canada. They exist. They're all over. They are not gone. Even though Trump is in and he's the president, the deep state's not gone. So you don't want to think as a Christian, well, I can put everything in autopilot or put it in neutral and Trump will take care of it and they're not going to be successful. Oh, no. Do not think that way. The deep state's in the public schools. The deep state's in the colleges and universities. They're in the media. They're in Hollywood. They're in the entertainment industry. They're everywhere. And they're all at all information outlets. So do not think for a moment they have went away. Do not think for a moment that the war is over. It is raging. So here's an interesting thing about evil. Evil will tell you what they're going to do. It's kind of like a Scooby-Doo cartoon where the villain tells you his plans and gives you the blueprint. Well, here is a guy in Washington that talked about what they're planning to do. Listen to him.
As Democrats, we simply failed to convince the American people we have better ideas to solve their problems. But we do. Now we need to dust ourselves off and get ready to fight. We can't let Donald Trump's extreme MAGA agenda go unanswered or unopposed. So here's an idea for how to organize our opposition. We need to borrow from our British friends and appoint a shadow cabinet to fight back against the worst abuses of a second Trump administration. Across the Atlantic, the British have something we don't, a team from the opposition that mirrors the government's own cabinet members. They watch the cabinet closely, publicly challenging, scrutinizing, and offering new ideas. It's another form of checks and balances, a quiet guardrail that holds those in power accountable. With a shadow cabinet, there's no hiding. Each decision by the government faces a ready counterpoint, not just from the media and voters, but also from political leaders poised to step in. Shadow cabinet members can also become the clear point people for advocacy and grassroots organizers, making it easier to unify and amplify the solutions that those in power are ignoring. It's democracy's insurance policy, and it strengthens the government too. There's no room for lazy ideas when rivals stand ready to step in.
So there you guys go. Here's the guy, a member of Congress, telling you we're going to form a shadow cabinet. They're not hiding it. They're telling you what they're going to do. Now watch this. He continues on. Listen to him.
If Trump attempts to weaponize the justice system against his political opponents with Matt Gaetz at the helm, we could see incoming Senator Adam Schiff as our shadow attorney general, arguing against replacing our independent prosecutors with Trump loyalists. If Trump seeks to eliminate the Department of Education, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes, a former Teacher of the Year, could step up as Shadow Education Secretary to loudly defend public education in the United States. If Trump orders Marco Rubio to hand Ukraine and much of Eastern Europe to Russian President Vladimir Putin, Congressman Greg Meeks, as Shadow Secretary of State, could be a strong voice in support of maintaining international relationships and protecting democracy at home and abroad. Senator Michael Bennet as Shadow Treasury Secretary and Congresswoman Susan DelBene as Shadow Commerce Secretary could help ensure the middle class and small businesses have a voice in government and call out Trump's proposed tax cuts for billionaires and corporations. As Shadow Defense Secretary, Congressman Adam Smith, a great representative for the people of Washington and not a Fox News host, could counter Trump's threat to use military force against his political opponents and work to ensure that the Department of Defense stays loyal to the Constitution and not some wannabe dictator. And Senator Tammy Duckworth could argue against cuts to the Department of Veterans Affairs that would delay the benefits and care our service members have so rightly earned. If Trump hands over the EPA to big oil ally Lee Zeldin, we could see Congresswoman Kathy Castor pushing back for environmental protection and conservation to protect the air we breathe and the water we drink. And if Trump pushes to ban abortion nationwide, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro could step in as Shadow Secretary of Health and Human Services to defend women's right to choose and argue against the gutting of Medicare by Trump and his cronies. Mr. Speaker, new times require new solutions. The shadow cabinet isn't just about opposing extreme MAGA attacks on our government. It's also about making clear what we stand for, not just what we're against.
So there we go. So they are telling you what they plan to do. And they're planning to corner everything Trump tries to do. Now, some of the things they're not going to be able to stop. But here's what they plan to do. This is their plan of attack. This is the blueprint. And we hope and pray that Trump and his team can outdo them and get through all of this. But here's what their blueprint is. They decline to implement Trump's federal policies in their states and military. And we already know that there's a deep state in our military. We have woke generals, right? Like Milley, right? But we found out that our Pentagon is not trustworthy. So now Doge is going into our Pentagon and unearthing all of this wokeness, this DEI stuff that they were perpetrating among our military. Now Trump has eliminated the trans people out of our military. Thank God for that. But this is the problem, right? So you had Alexander Vindman as an example. He was an Army lieutenant. He initiated Trump's first impeachment. This is coming from the military, right? And Milley, who's woke, he called China over fears that Trump could spark a war. You remember that. And of course, Biden pardoned him because he knew that Trump might go after this guy, court-martial him, and send him to Leavenworth or whatever for what he did. That's called treason, guys. Anyway, some interesting things about the deep state in our military. According to nearly a dozen retired officers and current military lawyers, as well as scholars who teach at West Point and Annapolis, an intense, if quiet, debate is underway inside the U.S. military community about what orders it would be obliged to obey if President Trump decides to follow through on his previous warnings that he might deploy troops against what he deems domestic threats, including political enemies, dissenters, and immigrants. And so they're already having this conversation. Anyway, it says some within the military community are urging troops to lawyer up and prepare to resist what they consider unethical orders. We have to consider the possibility we could have a commander-in-chief who is willing to order the military to do something that is pretty threatening to the constitutional order. Now, what you guys have to understand is Trump's not going to do anything that breaks the Constitution. What they're telling you is they're preparing to resist any orders that Trump gives them. That's what's happening. And look, we already know that the last 4 years and even Trump's last few years that the deep state was affecting the military. So we have the Blaze media pointing out that General Mark Milley approved a directed energy weapon for use in 2020 at the DC rioters. Now that's concerning because this directed energy weapon scrambles people's brains. It makes them feel like they're going crazy, makes them nauseated. This happened in Havana, and they tested it, and 100 people had this done to them, and they instantly felt that they were going crazy, and were nauseated and sick and dizzy and whatnot. Now, what we know now is they used it on the DC rioters. This is scary that our military has the weapon capabilities to scramble your brains, make you feel like you're going crazy. That's scary because then they could use that weapon against you. You wouldn't know it's being used against you, and then they charge you with you're crazy. Maybe we put you away. But this is the kind of stuff that that's been going on, and I hope more gets uncovered. And this came out, obviously, about January 6th. We know all the stuff about that now. But easily 200 FBI undercover assets were there on the ground, dressed as Trump supporters. Why did the FBI have those people on the ground there on January 6th? It looks like they were staging something, right? Why were they dressed up as Trump supporters inside the Capitol? What was going on? Were they trying to create something that wasn't there? New York Times reporter says there were a ton of FBI informants at the Capitol on January 6th. So we have multiple attestations that the FBI was involved in January 6th. Former Capitol Police Chief tells Tucker Carlson in a leaked Fox interview that January 6th events were a cover-up. Yeah, that's part of the deep state. And then we have a breaking video from a top Pentagon advisor. He was caught on a hidden camera having a conversation that the retired generals are exploring what they can do to protect people from Trump. And it says that we try to explain to the American people the national security consequences of another Trump presidency. So here's this guy saying that they're having meetings how to basically stop Trump. Here you go.
I work at this top consulting firm, and my client is the Pentagon. So I'm embedded in the Pentagon. I work in the Joint Staff, which is the top military command. When she lost, I went into the intelligence community and I became an FBI special agent. So I became a spy hunter. So I was a counterintelligence agent, special agent at the FBI.
What's your overall assessment of Trump?
He's a sociopathic narcissist. He's only interested in advancing his name, his wealth, and his fame.
Is there anything you can do to protect American people from stuff that he might try to do?
I'm in conversation with a couple of retired generals to try to explore what we can do.
Who were the retired generals that you were going to talk to?
They're like 1, 2, and 3-star generals and admirals. You probably know maybe 4 stars. So I also have a big day tomorrow, probably the biggest day of all. So we have this huge meeting with military leaders in a very secure room called the Tank.
Oh.
So we have a tank meeting with all of the top leaders of the United States military tomorrow on my topic that I prepared.
So it went well?
I think it went well. It's very sensitive information. We have to keep it between us.
So there you go, saying that the military has this tank meeting and basically it's about, what do we do to oppose Trump? And Trump obviously is making it clear he doesn't want anyone in his administration that hasn't worked for or endorsed by politicians suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. So he's doing a better job this time around. Before the first term, he had people around him that were undermining him. And this time, he knows who the players are. And so he's doing a lot better on his picks, and hopefully they'll be able to overcome this. Again, we have to continue to pray for the Trump administration. But anyway, here is a website called Indivisible, and it's talking about Democrats safeguarding democracy blueprint. So, like I said, they already have the blueprints of how they're going to resist Trump. And here's the example of this. And so this Indivisible website is connected to the Tides Foundation, Democracy Alliance, Democratic Socialists of America, and also George Soros. So these are the people that are trying to resist Trump. And like I said, how are they going to resist it? Well, here, one of the blueprints is state-funded legal defense funds, lawfare. Sue Donald Trump and his administration and keep him tied up in the courts. During Donald Trump's first presidency, California filed over 100 lawsuits against him, and Gavin Newsom is going to continue that. Maura Healey sued Trump nearly 100 times in Massachusetts as Attorney General. So they will continue this. And so for the first time, some civil servants are taking out liability insurance to cover lawyers if they're demoted or fired. So they're preparing that Trump's going to fire them, and they're going to sue. And so that's why they're taking out the insurance. So then you have the federal courts that are going to resist him, and judges who will try to block Trump. And one of the biggest blockers is the D.C. court. And you can see, the blue sections and then the red sections, and you can see Washington, D.C., that circuit is thoroughly blue. And so with all the things that will happen in Washington, D.C., it's this court that will try to block Trump the most, is this D.C. circuit. Anyway, Supreme Court Justice Barrett and Roberts side with liberals to deny sentencing delay in Trump's hush money case. And so we already know that the Supreme Court, we got sellouts that, that will side with the others, leftists, liberals, whatever. And they didn't pan out to be as conservative as we thought they were. But anyway, the second thing they plan to do in these blueprints is interstate compacts and alliances. Well, basically, these are progressive alliances to stop Trump's policy. What do you mean by that? Well, the blue states legislature are forming coalitions that are planning to fully resist Trump. Is that what they're doing? So the blue states are going to resist. We have now a Governor Safeguarding Democracy Alliance, basically. It's a nonpartisan alliance, they say, but it's a bunch of leftists and liberals of governors that are working together to basically confront Trump's policies, and that's what they're going to do. So you have Jared Polis and J.B. Pritzker of Illinois and Colorado forming this alliance of so-called safeguarding democracy. So basically it's to oppose Trump. The third thing on their blueprint is to provide extraterritorial policies and race to the top standards. What do you mean by that? Well, obviously they're progressive policies, which are globalist policies. They want to put them in law before any action that Trump takes on them to stop it, whether it's minimum age, woke policies, transgenderism, LGBT agenda, and other woke discrimination. So like we see right now, Trump is trying to end men playing in women's sports. And he's made an executive order, but he's going to get resistance to that. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to outrace Trump before he creates an executive order to prevent him from doing that, to stop the LGBT agenda, to stop the trans agenda. That's what they're worried about. So they're trying to get all their little policies in place. They got the schools covered, they got the colleges covered, but they have to get the other institutions on board as well. So they're working double time for this. For instance, New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Attorney General Letitia James have also pledged to enhance protections for immigrants, basically protecting illegal aliens, LGBTQ rights, which I don't know what that means because anyone that's gay or lesbian has all the rights of an American citizen. I don't know what they're talking about, but you know. And reproductive health care, which is nothing but abortion on demand. So they're trying to safeguard all this ungodly morality. Some agencies have even moved to reclassify jobs with titles that would clash with Trump's agenda, especially those promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. So basically, they're trying to change the name. So Trump outlaws diversity, equity, inclusion. They just changed the name, but it's still the same idea. As you probably know, California's crazy. The state I'm from is crazy, and our governor's crazy. So Gavin Newsom called for a special session of legislature immediately after the election to protect Californians from the dangers posed by a second Trump term. The session will allow lawmakers to pass critical legislation aimed at safeguarding Californians from anticipated threats of civil liberties, environmental protection, and public safety. So California plans to do its job to oppose Trump. Newsom makes a $50 million deal with Democratic lawmakers to fight Trump, especially on deporting illegal aliens. So there's opposition. The other thing to pay attention to is the technocrats want an algocracy, or a rule by algorithm. And what that means is the new big tech oligarchs are now kissing the ring of Trump, if you noticed, because they want in on this action. And so hopefully Trump can be wary of them, because these technocrats, these big oligarchs, control a lot of what's happening on the internet, controlling a lot of the social media. As we know, what they're wanting to push is a biometric digital identification. They want to push a digital currency. They want to push a central bank digital currency. They want to put all your medical records on there. They want to put all your vaccines, and they want to link this all together with Stargate. So there's a big concerted effort from the technocrats to link everyone together. And basically, this is stage setting for a global government, because if you're going to have a global government, you got to have the technology available to you to be able to run a global government. So that's what's happening. CIA director, Trump administration considering national laboratory for artificial intelligence like the Manhattan Project. And what the technocrats are pushing Trump to do is, hey, look, there's a race for AI. America should lead out on that, because if not, then China's going to get it or Russia's going to get it. And that's true. We do not want China and Russia controlling AI. That's true. I would prefer America to control AI. I trust America more than I trust China. I trust Trump more than I trust Russia or whoever. But at the same time, this system that is being developed will eventually usher in the beast system. And so there's been a joint venture investing up to $500 billion in infrastructure tied to artificial intelligence, partnership with OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. And of course, this is on Trump's watch. And they're creating this new entity called Stargate, which will start building out data centers over 500 acres, has the electricity generation needed for further development in fast evolving AI in Texas and Georgia. So this is a big deal. And, Trump's behind it, obviously, but he's seeing this as a business deal. He's not seeing it as from prophetic standpoint. So again, pray for Trump's discernment. But these oligarchs are the ones like Larry Ellison that, they're all behind it. And we've seen Larry Ellison before talk about, things of controlling people and having all of our medical records on this artificial intelligence database. That's scary because that we lose our protection, our freedoms, we lose our privacy when they do things like this, right? So AI is coming, and it's coming faster than what we think. We just pray that Trump and them have discernment in how they do this, because AI can get out of control. And obviously, this is where they stand. This is OpenAI's economic blueprint, and they're investing all the funds into this. So what you're seeing happen is the development of the beast system eventually for the future. It's not the beast system now, but the technology is now being put in place. Microsoft's behind that. They're jumping in on this. So all the tech firms are getting involved in this because they understand that whoever gets to the top with AI wins. And so this is a big deal. Elon Musk, obviously, talking about Neuralink and brain implants, right? Imagine having a brain implant and having the entire internet in your brain at your disposal. I mean, this is getting into some very tricky waters here with, biotech and privacy issues and transhumanism. There's a lot of things going on there. The other thing is they're going to have sanctuary policies for out-of-state visitors. So, like, you can come to California and have an abortion if you can't do it in another state. You can have a trans surgery in California if your state doesn't allow it. So that's one of their ways of getting around that. When Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs was talked about securing the border, this is how she responded.
As you know, Trump has promised that he would carry out mass deportations on day one of his presidency. Your state is estimated to have 250,000 undocumented immigrants. Some Democrats in your state, like Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallegos, say that she wouldn't allow police to be used to carry out this plan. Would you, as governor, allow state police and National Guard to carry out mass deportations?
We will not be participating in misguided efforts that harm our communities. And I've been incredibly clear about that.
So there you go. She's planning on defying federal law. I hope Trump locks her up for that, because you can't, as a governor, go against federal law if they're rounding up illegal aliens and you decide to safe harbor them or whatever she's planning to do. She needs to go to jail, and I hope Trump goes to jail. But this is what I'm talking about, the resisting. They're going to do economic leverage. States with money can refuse to do business with companies that don't uphold woke, progressive, ideology, and basically use economic bribery to challenge Trump's policies. So that's in play. And where does this go? So you've seen the blueprint. This is what they're planning on doing. But where does this go? Well, as I said, Daniel's metallic man is with us. We're in the two-legged phase of the Roman Empire. And that empire is going to morph into a globalist government. Now, if you look at where the feet are standing, and I don't have time to explain all of this, but when Rome broke up into two, the western leg moved from Rome. It went into France under Charlemagne, and then it transferred up to Germany under Otto I in about 960 AD. Where the western leg of Daniel's metallic man has been. In the east, Constantinople, or the modern day term is Istanbul, but Constantinople was the center of Eastern Christianity. When the Turks came in to take over and attack Constantinople, The elites and the educated and all the Christians there moved north, and they moved north into Russia. So now, after I think 1453 A.D., the eastern leg moved into Russia. That's why you have such a problem now between Russia and Europe and the rest of Europe. And I can tell you who wins. The Russian leg is not going to win. It's the Western leg, because the Western leg is wanting globalism, and that's who wins in the end, is globalism. So basically, Europe is becoming the epicenter for globalism, right? They're destroying free speech, biblical rights, biblical freedom, mass immigration, and they're exporting that to the rest of the world. And so when we see this fourth beast morph into a global government, it says the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms and shall devour the whole earth. And that concept of devouring the whole earth is where we get the concept of global government. That's what it's trying to say. And then it goes on, and this global government will break up into 10 league confederations. 10 horns are 10 kings that shall arise from this kingdom, Daniel says. There's where the 10 toes or the 10 horns on the beast come from. Now, here's a map of post-war from 1942. And this is how the League of Nations divided up the world. And notice that they divided the world into 10 confederations. And this was early on after World War II, right? And then you go into the late 70s. This is the Club of Rome, dividing the world into 10 regions. And then this is 2009, UN, dividing the regional groupings into 10 leagues, as you can see, just as prophecy predicts. And again, they talk about the global village and the world being cut up into 10 global regions. So with that being said, out of them will come another one, a horn. And the other horn which came up, before which 3 fell, namely the horn which had eyes and a mouth which spoke pompous words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. He shall be different from the first ones and shall subdue 3 kings. So out of the 10 league confederation will come the Antichrist. That's where this is going. And he will take control of the entire planet. Now, in order to do that, obviously, he has to have the technological ability, he has to have the military capabilities of doing that. And he will, because that's where technology is going. It's going to be so sophisticated and so overwhelming that it would centralize the power to where one man could control the entire planet. That's where the deep state's going. That's where it's heading. That's where it's inevitable. Now, how long we have with Trump, I don't know. They might try to assassinate him. Maybe they will be successful in doing that, and that would change the game if they were able to do that. Like Elon Musk went on Rogan just a week back, or a couple weeks back, and Rogan was asking him questions about cutting, all this bureaucracy and deep state stuff. And Elon Musk flat out said, look, some of the stuff I'm doing, I got to be real careful because they'll kill you over it. He's right. When he said that on Rogan, he's right. They will kill you over it. I pray that God spares Trump's life, just like he spared him in these last 2 assassination attempts. But these people mean business. They have an agenda. It's a satanic agenda, as you can see, and the Bible lays it out. And this is where it's going. But the good news is this. God is going to send, after it's all said and done, his own king, the Lord Jesus Christ. And the Lord Jesus Christ will rule and reign on this earth. He will rule and reign from Jerusalem, from the nation of Israel, on David's throne. And there will be one day a kingdom of peace and prosperity and righteousness and holiness. But the way it's predicted is it gets bad before it gets better. Before Jesus rules and reigns, this deep state, this antichrist system, this beast system will take root and rule the world for at least 3.5 years during the tribulation. But that's where it all goes. But the good news is Jesus is coming back and he's going to rule and reign. And that's what we have to look forward to. So what am I supposed to do with this information? What am I going to take from all of this? I understand a deep state exists. I understand it's going to get worse. What you are supposed to do is warn others. Your job is to be a lighthouse, is to be light, is to share this information, to not be deceived when you see it, but illuminate it to other people so they're not deceived. So many people in our culture and so many people in the church are deceived. They don't know this is going on, and they're being blinded by the god of this world. So our job is to make people aware of this, and then furthermore, to lead people to the Lord, to explain to them what's happening, that they need to be saved. And that is the key, man, because if you get left behind when the rapture happens, you're going to go into this mess with the Antichrist and the beast system. So you don't want to be a part of that. You want to miss that with the rapture of the church. And so the day is the day of salvation. So I encourage you, make sure you're saved. And then if you are, then do the job of revealing this to other people and warn them. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. God bless you. Have a great conference.
You've been watching The Deep State, Past, Present, and Prophesied by Brandon Holthaus. To view more Stealing titles, get information on our Holy Land trips and future Bible conferences, go to compass.org.